What's up, guys? This is Dominic with PoorPumperSociety. I figure I'd give a little update. As you can see behind me, I have moved into a home. Finally, I've been living in a duplex for a while, so this is very refreshing. It's on some property, so I have a septic tank, which I'm very excited about. So I can perform some experiments, give you all a little walkthrough of what to expect if you move into a home with a septic tank. As you know, I am a strong proponent of bidets, so there should be virtually no crust on mine, but I am going to pump it out at least every 3 years, just for good maintenance. I don't flush anything down the toilet. We have little waste bins where when we pat dry on my little bum, I throw it in there instead of flushing it down the toilet. So hoping that will be a visual for all of y'all to see that if you don't put anything besides pee and poo and water in the septic tank, there should almost be no crust. Besides that, we have a new truck added to the fleet. It was made by Best Enterprise out of Arkansas. It's a stainless steel, 2,300 gallon waste, 200 gallon fresh, I believe. It's got a jetter on it. The jetter has an automatic reel, which is really cool. And you can operate it with a remote control from far away. So that is really cool, moving on up in the world. And one of the first new trucks we've had that has AC. So I am very excited about that with this Texas heat we've been experiencing. So on this job we showed up to, we had a realtor and a home buyer. The buyer was told that there was only one septic tank on the property. My brother showed up initially, found what they believed to be the only septic tank on the property. It turns out it was a cesspit. So for those of you that are unaware, a cesspit is basically a hole they dug in the ground and they stacked concrete rings up and put a cap on it. Now, the purpose of a seepage pit or a cesspit is when the wastewater enters the pit, it seeps through the bottom. A lot of them don't have drain fields. They would just rely on the wastewater seeping through the soil. Now, eventually it gets to the point to where there's so much biomat that the wastewater does not want to drain. It'll back up because it has nowhere to go. So what they would do is they would add a drain field to it. So we showed up and you see a huge house. It had to be at least like 4 bed, 2 bath, at least bare minimum. And the gears start turning in your brain. You're like, is this large home connected to this tiny cesspit? It had to be about 500 gallons and it was bone dry. And the answer is, this was not the only septic tank on the property. Now, the new home, for whatever reason, they did not install cleanouts. It is code to have a cleanout at least every 75 feet of sewage line to the tank. There was no cleanout, so if there were ever an instance where it started to back up, there'd be no way to relieve the pressure. On top of that, they didn't know where the septic tank was. So, thankfully the septic tank wasn't backing up. We flushed a Prototek flushable transmitter down the toilet. Now what this does is it emits a signal, and we use our RIDGID NaviTrack Scout to pick up that signal. We flushed it, tracked it, and it came back 4 feet 9 inches down. Rocky soil. We didn't want to dig it by hand. It's been like 100 and something degrees here in Texas the past few weeks. Brutal heat to try and dig that up by hand. So thankfully my dad and his crew were right down the road. They showed up with the excavator, dug up both the lids, were able to assess the septic tank, pump it out, perform a function and flow test, make sure the drain field is working correctly, and take pictures of the inside just to ensure the structural integrity of the tank. A lot of these tanks that I notice when we dig them up, especially on the outlet side, they have signs of corrosion. So that's one thing we want to look for. We want to make sure it's not going to collapse when the new homeowner moves in, something like that. So thankfully we're able to perform our inspection on this system. The new homeowner is going to know exactly where the tank is, and that's a good thing because they were planning on putting a swimming pool back here. So if they would have just say ran water down the sink, which I hear a lot of people shockingly say is how their septic was inspected. They would have just took it at face value that there's only one system on the property and started digging away for their new swimming pool. So anytime you're buying a new property that has a septic system, I highly recommend that you get inspected and make sure that when it's inspected, they locate it. I cannot stress that enough. It will save you thousands and thousands of dollars in the long run. So that's what we're into. If this is your first time watching, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. Drop a comment and let me know what you think. And if you want to check out any of the tools or products I use in my videos or products I recommend, check the bio down below. I really appreciate y'all's support. I've been upgrading the equipment slowly but surely. So I hope to provide more quality uploads and more frequent uploads in the near future. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just gonna do it all. I got it. Flush it. Okay. Nope. Mm-mm.
I think I stood on it when I had it home. Fucking put me under, dude. That's insane. Got my transmitter. Things ain't cheap, dude.
Should be able to get the chisel in there and lift it up now. Try prying it. It's loose now. Just looking to grab one. Fucking deep.
What?
This time